I woke up in that hospital bed thinking the worst was over. The surgery was done. My heart was beating again. The machines around me beeped steady and strong, like little promises that I was still here, still alive. But when I opened my eyes, the room was empty. Not the kind of empty where someone just stepped out for coffee. Not the kind where they're in the hallway talking to the doctor. This was the kind of empty that echoes. The kind that sits heavy on your chest, heavier than any scar. My phone sat on the side table, screen dark. No missed calls. No messages. Just silence. I didn't know it then, but that silence would teach me more about family than 18 years of birthday cakes and holiday dinners ever did. Because here's what nobody tells you when you're growing up, when you're watching movies about people who do anything for each other. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the first ones to walk away when things get hard. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how my family left me alone after heart surgery, how I survived the betrayal that almost killed me more than the surgery itself, and how a complete stranger became the only family I ever really needed. But before I tell you about the stranger who changed everything, before I tell you about the moment I realized I'd been abandoned, I need to take you back. Back to when I still believed in them. Back to when I thought love was supposed to be unconditional. Back to before my heart broke in more ways than one. You might think you know how this story ends. You might think you've heard something like it before. But I promise you, what happened to me, what I discovered about the person who saved my life, will stay with you long after this story is over. And maybe, just maybe, it'll make you think differently about who really deserves to be called family. So stay with me. Because this story gets dark before it gets light. It gets painful before it gets beautiful. And it gets real before it gets hopeful. Are you ready? Let's go back to the beginning. 6 months before that empty hospital room, my life looked normal. Not perfect. Just normal. I lived with my parents and my older brother Marcus in a 3-bedroom house on Maple Street, the kind of street where everyone knew each other's names but not much else. Mom worked double shifts at the diner downtown. Dad managed a small auto repair shop that barely broke even most months. Marcus was 22, still living at home, still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. And me? I was 18, fresh out of high school, working part-time at the library and trying to save enough money for community college. My guidance counselor said I had potential. My mom said I had dreams too big for our budget. My dad said nothing at all, which was usually how he communicated. We weren't the kind of family you'd see in commercials. We didn't have game nights or inside jokes or traditions that made us special. But we were family. And I thought that meant something. I thought that meant they'd always be there. The first time I felt the pain in my chest, I was shelving books in the young adult section. A sharp pressure, like someone pressing their fist against my ribs from the inside. I stopped, gripped the shelf, and waited for it to pass. It did. After maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I told myself it was nothing. Probably just anxiety. I'd been stressed about money, about college applications, about everything. Stress could do strange things to your body. Everyone said so. So I didn't mention it to anyone. The second time it happened, I was at home, washing dishes after dinner. Mom was getting ready for her night shift, moving through the kitchen like a tornado, grabbing her purse, her keys, her name tag. "Emma, did you remember to pay the electric bill?" she asked without looking at me. "Yes, Mom. Yesterday." "And you picked up your brother's prescription?" "Yes." "Good girl." She paused at the doorway, finally looking at me. For just a second, I thought about telling her. About the pain. About how it was happening more often now, how sometimes it made my vision blur at the edges. But she looked so tired. Her eyes had that hollow look they always got when she worked too many shifts in a row. The last thing she needed was something else to worry about. "You okay, honey?" she asked. I smiled. "I'm fine, Mom. Just tired." She nodded, satisfied with that answer, and left. The door closed behind her, and I stood there at the sink, hands still in the soapy water, feeling that pressure in my chest again. Lighter this time, but there. Always there. Marcus walked into the kitchen, scrolling through his phone. He opened the refrigerator, stared at its contents, closed it. Opened it again. "There's leftover chicken," I said. "Not hungry." He finally looked up from his phone. "You look weird." "Thanks." No, I mean like sick weird. You feeling okay? For a moment, I considered telling him. Marcus and I used to be close when we were kids. He used to let me tag along when he hung out with his friends, used to help me with my homework, used to actually talk to me like I mattered. But somewhere along the way, we become strangers living in the same house. He had his life, his problems, his phone. I had mine. I'm fine, I said again. That phrase was becoming my favorite lie. Cool. He grabbed a soda and headed back to his room. I finished the dishes alone, pressing my hand against my chest occasionally, as if I could push the pain back inside, make it disappear through sheer willpower. That night, I lay in bed and tried to remember the last time someone in my family had really looked at me. Not the quick glances, the hurried check-ins, the distracted questions. But really looked. Really seen me. I couldn't remember. The pain came again as I was drifting off to sleep. Sharper this time. I curled onto my side, breathing slowly through my nose, waiting for it to pass. It always passed. Until the day it didn't. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in Dr. Morrison's office, and he was using words like congenital heart defect and mitral valve prolapse and immediate intervention. I'd finally gone to the emergency room after collapsing at work. 1 minute I was reaching for a book on the top shelf, the next I was on the floor, my supervisor kneeling beside me, calling 911. Now my parents sat on either side of me in chairs that seemed too small for the weight of what we were hearing. How bad is it? Dad asked. His voice was rough, like he'd swallowed gravel. He hadn't said much since we arrived, but now he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Dr. Morrison folded his hands on his desk. He was an older man, probably close to retirement, with kind eyes that had seen too many difficult conversations. It's serious. Emma's heart has been compensating for a while, which is why the symptoms seemed manageable. But the valve is deteriorating faster than we'd like. Without surgery, we're looking at heart failure within 6 months to a year. Mom made a small sound, like a wounded animal. She grabbed my hand, squeezed it tight. Her palm was sweaty. With surgery? I asked. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Too calm. Too steady. With surgery, you have an excellent chance of full recovery. The procedure is complex, but we do it regularly. You'd need to stay in the hospital for about a week, maybe 2, depending on how your body responds. Then several weeks of recovery at home. And the cost? Dad asked. Of course. That was always the question, wasn't it? Not, will my daughter be okay? Not, what's the success rate? Just, how much? Dr. Morrison shifted uncomfortably. I'll have my office manager discuss the financial details with you. But I want to be clear, this surgery needs to happen soon. Within the next 2 weeks if possible. Mom's grip on my hand tightened. 2 weeks? The longer we wait, the more risk involved. Silence filled the office. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking, each second stretching impossibly long. We'll figure it out, Mom finally said, but her voice wavered. We always do. Dad stood up abruptly. I need some air. He left without looking at me. Dr. Morrison gave me a sympathetic smile. I know this is overwhelming. Take the evening to process everything. We'll schedule a follow-up appointment for later this week to discuss the procedure in detail and answer any questions you have. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Mom and I sat there for a moment after Dr. Morrison left. Just the two of us in that sterile office that smelled like antiseptic and fear. I'm sorry, I whispered. She turned to me, confused. Sorry? Baby, for what? For being expensive. Her face crumpled, and for a second I thought she might cry. But she didn't. She never did. Instead, she pulled me into a hug, holding me so tight I could feel her heart beating against my chest. 2 hearts. One broken, one breaking. Don't you ever apologize for that, she said. Ever. You hear me? I nodded against her shoulder. But as we drove home in silence, Dad gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd become a problem. An expensive, complicated problem that my family didn't know how to solve. The next few days passed in a blur of phone calls and paperwork. Insurance companies. Payment plans. Medical forms that all asked the same questions in different ways. I heard my parents arguing late at night, their voices carrying through the thin walls of our house. "We don't have that kind of money, Sarah." "Then we'll borrow it. We'll figure something out." "From who?" "Your sister who can barely pay her own rent. My brother who hasn't spoken to me in 5 years. I don't know, Robert. But we can't just let our daughter die because we're broke." Silence. Long and heavy. "I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we need to be realistic about what we can afford. She's our daughter." "I know that." His voice cracked. "God, Sarah, I know that." I pulled my pillow over my head, trying to block out their words. But they seeped through anyway, settling into my chest right next to the pain. Marcus knocked on my door the next morning. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Sure." He sat on the edge of my bed, unusually serious. "So I've been thinking about the surgery and everything." "Okay. I could get a job. Like a real job, not just the part-time thing at the grocery store. Help with the bills." Something warm bloomed in my chest. "You do that? You're my sister." He said it simply, like it explained everything. Maybe it did. "Thanks, Marcus." He nodded, stood up, but paused at the door. "You scared?" "Terrified." "Yeah. Me too." It was the most honest conversation we'd had in months. The week before the surgery felt like living underwater. Everything moved slower, sounds were muffled, and I couldn't quite catch my breath. Mom took time off work to take me to pre-op appointments. We filled out more forms. Signed more papers. Listened to more doctors explain more risks in that careful, measured way they had of talking about death without actually saying the word. Dad threw himself into work, leaving early and coming home late, always with grease under his fingernails and exhaustion in his eyes. Marcus actually got a job at a warehouse. He came home sore and quiet, but every night he'd check on me before bed. Small gestures. But they mattered. 2 days before the surgery, the hospital called with the final cost estimate. I heard Mom on the phone, heard her voice get smaller and smaller with each number they gave her. When she hung up, she sat at the kitchen table with her head in her hands. "Mom?" She looked up, and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Not just fear. Defeat. "We'll make it work," she said, but the words sounded hollow. That night, the whole family sat together in the living room. It wasn't planned. We just all ended up there, occupying the same space for the first time in weeks. Dad was in his recliner, staring at the television but not really watching it. Mom was on the couch, folding laundry with mechanical precision. Marcus was on the floor, playing a video game with the sound off. And me? I was curled up in the corner of the couch, watching them all and trying to memorize this moment. This ordinary, silent, slightly broken moment of family. "Can we talk about it?" I finally asked. Everyone froze. "Talk about what, honey?" Mom asked, but she knew. "The surgery. What happens if—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "Don't," Dad said sharply. "Don't talk like that. But we should have a plan. Just in case." "There is no just in case." Mom's voice was firm. "You're going to be fine. The doctor said the success rate is over 90%. That still leaves 10%. Silence. Marcus put down his controller. "Stop being dramatic, Emma. You're not going to die." "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being realistic." "Well, stop. You're freaking everyone out. Maybe everyone should be a little freaked out." My voice rose, surprising even myself. Maybe everyone should actually acknowledge that this is happening instead of pretending everything's fine. Mom stood up. Emma rose. "I'm 18 years old and I need open heart surgery, and all anyone talks about is money." The words came out in a rush, all the fear and anger I'd been holding back for weeks. Does anyone even care if I'm scared? Does anyone even care that I might not wake up? Of course we care, Dad said quietly. He looked at me for the first time in days. Really looked at me. And I saw it then, in his eyes. The fear. The helplessness. The love he didn't know how to express. Then act like it, I whispered. Mom crossed the room and pulled me into her arms. We're all scared, baby. We're all so scared. And sometimes when people are scared, they focus on the things they can control, like money and schedules and logistics, because the alternative is thinking about the things they can't control. Like losing you. Her voice broke on the last word. Dad got up and joined us, wrapping his arms around both of us. Then Marcus too. All of us in a pile on the couch, holding each other like we could keep the world at bay through sheer force of will. I'm sorry, Dad said. I'm sorry I made you think we didn't care. I care so much it's killing me. We're going to get through this, Mom added. All of us. Together. And in that moment, I believed her. In that moment, I thought maybe we really were the family I'd always wanted us to be. I was wrong. But I didn't know that yet. The night before the surgery, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, watching shadows move across the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. Every creak, every whisper of wind against the windows felt significant. Like the world was trying to tell me something. Around midnight, Mom appeared in my doorway. Can't sleep either, she asked softly. I shook my head. She came in and sat on the edge of my bed, like she used to when I was little and had nightmares. She'd sit there and stroke my hair and tell me stories until I drifted off. I remember the day you were born, she said. You came 3 weeks early. We weren't ready. Hadn't finished the nursery, hadn't packed the hospital bag, hadn't done any of the things the parenting book said we should do. But there you were, in such a hurry to get here. She smiled at the memory. You were so tiny. 4 pounds, 6 ounces. They had to keep you in the NICU for a week. And every single day, I'd sit by your incubator and talk to you. Tell you about all the things we'd do together when you came home. All the places I'd take you. All the ways I'd protect you. Her voice wavered. I thought I could protect you from everything. Broken hearts and mean kids and disappointment. I thought that's what mothers did. But I can't protect you from this. I can't fix this. And it's killing me. Mom. Let me finish. She took my hand. Tomorrow is going to be hard. Maybe the hardest thing any of us have ever done. But I need you to know something. I need you to know that no matter what happens in that operating room, you have been the best thing that ever happened to me. You made me a mother. You made me better. And I love you more than I knew it was possible to love another person. Tears streamed down her face now. I love you too, Mom. She leaned down and kissed my forehead, lingering there for a moment. See you on the other side, baby girl. Dad came in next. He stood awkwardly by the door, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to be there. Dad, it's okay. You can come in. He approached slowly, sat in the chair by my desk. We looked at each other in the dim light filtering through my window. I'm not good at this, he said finally. The talking thing. The feelings thing. Your mother, she's always been better at it. I know. But I want you to know. He cleared his throat. I want you to know that you're the reason I go to work every day. You and your brother. Everything I do, even when I'm too tired or too frustrated or too broke, I do it for you. That's what family means to me. Showing up. Working. Providing. I know, Dad. And tomorrow, when they wheel you into that operating room, I'm going to be right there until they make me leave. And I'll be there when you wake up. First face you see. I promise. It was the most words he'd strung together in years. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded, stood up, and did something he hadn't done since I was a little girl. He kissed the top of my head. Sleep well, Emmy. Emmy. My childhood nickname. I'd forgotten he used to call me that. After he left, Marcus slipped in. He was carrying something, holding it awkwardly behind his back. So, this is stupid, he started. But I remember when we were kids, you had that stuffed rabbit. The one you took everywhere. Mr. Floppy. Yeah. That one. And you lost it at the park when you were 7, and you cried for like 3 days straight. I smiled at the memory. You helped me look for him. We searched that whole park. Never found him. He brought his hands forward, revealing a small, worn stuffed rabbit. Not Mr. Floppy, but similar. I saw this at the thrift store last week. Thought maybe. I don't know. Thought maybe you could use something to hold on to tomorrow. My chest tightened, but this time it had nothing to do with my heart. Marcus, don't get weird about it. It's just a stupid toy. But it wasn't. And we both knew it. I took the rabbit, held it against my chest. Thank you. He shoved his hands in his pockets, shifting his weight from foot to foot. You're going to be fine, Emma. You have to be. Because who else is going to tell me when I'm being an idiot? I laughed, even though tears were running down my face. That's a full-time job. I know. That's why I need you to stick around. He left quickly, before either of us could get more emotional. I lay there alone again, holding the stuffed rabbit, replaying each conversation in my mind. My family, imperfect and complicated and sometimes distant, but mine. They loved me. In their own broken, messy ways, they loved me. I finally fell asleep around 3 in the morning, the rabbit tucked under my arm, my heart full despite everything. When the alarm went off at 5, I woke with a strange sense of calm. This was it. The day that would change everything. I got dressed slowly, carefully, in the loose clothes Mom had laid out for me. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like me. Just me. Maybe a little paler, a little more scared. But still me. Mom drove. Dad sat in the passenger seat. Marcus was in the back with me, neither of us speaking. The hospital was quiet at this hour. We checked in at the surgical admissions desk. A nurse gave me a hospital gown and a bag for my clothes. Mom helped me change in the pre-op room, her hands shaking as she tied the strings in the back. The anesthesiologist came in to explain the procedure. Then a surgical nurse. Then Dr. Morrison himself. You ready, Emma? He asked. Was I? Would I ever be? Yes, I said anyway. They started in 4. Gave me something to relax. The world got softer around the edges. My family gathered around the bed. We'll be right here, Mom said, gripping my hand. Right here waiting for you. The whole time, Dad added. We're not going anywhere. Marcus squeezed my foot through the blanket. See you soon, Em. I wanted to say so many things. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry for being expensive. I'm sorry for being a burden. I'm sorry for everything. But the words wouldn't come. The medicine was pulling me under. I love you, I managed finally. All of you. We love you too, baby, Mom said. So much. They wheeled me away then. Down long corridors with fluorescent lights that blurred together. Through double doors marked surgical suite, authorized personnel only. The operating room was colder than I expected. Bright. Full of people in masks and blue scrubs. Someone adjusted my 4. Someone else positioned my arms. Dr. Morrison appeared above me. Okay, Emma. I'm going to ask you to count backward from 10. 10, I said. My voice sounded far away. 9. The room started spinning. 8. I thought about my family in the waiting room. Mom probably pacing. Dad pretending to read a magazine. Marcus on his phone but not really looking at it. 7. I thought about the life I wanted to live. College. A career. Maybe love someday. Maybe my own family. 6. I thought about Mr. Floppy, the stuffed rabbit I'd lost all those years ago. How Marcus had searched the whole park with me, even though he was 13 and too old for that kind of thing. 5. I thought about empty hospital rooms and silence and whether love was really supposed to be unconditional. 4. The darkness was closing in now, soft and heavy. 3. I wanted to believe Mom's promise. That they'd be there when I woke up. That they weren't going anywhere. 2. I wanted to believe we'd get through this together. 1. I wanted to believe in family. The world went black. And when I woke up, everything I believed in would be gone. But I didn't know that yet. In that moment, drifting between consciousness and sleep, between life and whatever came next, I still had hope. I still had faith. I still had a family. Or so I thought. Pain woke me. Not the sharp kind. Not the kind that makes you scream. This was different. A dull, heavy ache that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. My chest felt like someone had placed a boulder on it and forgotten to take it off. I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids were so heavy. Like they'd been glued shut. When I finally managed it, the light stabbed into my skull. White. Everything was white. White ceiling. White walls. White sheets. I blinked, trying to focus. Trying to remember where I was. Hospital. Surgery. Heart. It came back in pieces, like a puzzle assembling itself in my mind. The operating room. The countdown. The darkness. I was alive. That thought should have filled me with relief. Joy. Gratitude. Instead, all I felt was confusion. Because the room was quiet. Too quiet. I turned my head slowly, every movement sending fresh waves of pain through my body. There was a chair next to my bed. Empty. A window with the curtains half drawn, letting in pale afternoon light. A clock on the wall that said 2:47. But no people. No mom sitting in the chair, clutching her purse the way she did when she was nervous. No dad standing by the window, pretending to look outside when really he was just avoiding eye contact. No Marcus scrolling through his phone in the corner. Just me. And machines. Beeping, humming, keeping me alive with their steady rhythm. Maybe they stepped out, I told myself. Maybe they went to get coffee. Or lunch. Or maybe the nurse told them to wait outside while they checked on me. That had to be it. I tried to call out, but my throat was raw. Nothing came out but a dry rasp that hurt more than it helped. A nurse appeared in the doorway. She was young, maybe late 20s, with kind eyes and dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her scrubs had little cartoon hearts on them, which felt ironic given where I was. "Oh good, you're awake," she said, coming to my bedside. She checked the machines, made notes on a clipboard. "How are you feeling, Emma?" "Hurts," I managed to whisper. "I know, sweetie. That's normal. The surgery went very well. Dr. Morrison will be by later to explain everything, but you did great. Your heart is strong." Strong. That word felt foreign. My heart didn't feel strong. It felt broken in ways that had nothing to do with valves and surgeries. "My family?" I asked. The nurse's smile faltered. Just for a second. Just enough for me to notice. "They were here earlier," she said, adjusting my fore. "While you were in recovery." Earlier. Past tense. "Where are they now?" She didn't meet my eyes. "Let me get you some water. Your throat must be so dry." She left before I could ask again. I stared at the empty chair. At the spot where Mom should have been sitting. Where Dad should have been standing. Where Marcus should have been making awkward jokes to cut the tension. But there was nothing. Just absence. Just air. The nurse came back with a cup of water and a straw. She helped me take small sips, supporting my head with her hand. "Thank you," I whispered. "Of course." She set the cup on the bedside table. "Do you need anything else? Are you comfortable? I need to know where my family is." The smile disappeared completely this time. She looked uncomfortable, like she was holding words in her mouth that she didn't want to let out. "Emma. Please. Just tell me." She sat down in the empty chair. Took a breath. "They left about an hour after you got out of surgery. The doctor came out and told them everything went well, that you'd be in recovery for a few hours before waking up. And then they left." The words didn't make sense. I heard them, but they bounced off my brain like stones skipping across water. Left? Like, went home to rest? I don't know, honey. I wasn't there when they talked to the doctor. But they haven't been back. Did they say when they're coming back? She looked down at her hands. I don't think they are. Not today, at least. Not today. Those two words sat in the air between us, heavy and sharp. But they promised they'd be here when I woke up. They promised. I know. I'm sorry. She stood up, touched my hand gently. Try to rest, okay? You just had major surgery. Your body needs time to heal. She left me alone again. I stared at the ceiling, trying to process what she'd told me. Trying to make it make sense. They'd promised. All of them. Mom with tears in her eyes. Dad with his gruff voice cracking. Marcus squeezing my foot through the blanket. We'll be right here. We're not going anywhere. See you soon. Lies. All of it. Pretty words that evaporated the moment things got hard. I reached for my phone on the bedside table. My hands shook, whether from the medication or the fear, I couldn't tell. The screen lit up. No new messages. No missed calls. Nothing. I opened the family group chat, the one Marcus had created as a joke months ago. The last message was from 3 days before the surgery. Mom reminding everyone about a dentist appointment. I typed slowly, my fingers clumsy on the screen. I'm awake. Where are you? I hit send and watched the message go from sending to delivered to read. All 3 of them read it. None of them replied. I tried calling Mom. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. Hey, it's Sarah. Leave a message and I'll get back to you. Her cheerful voice felt like a slap. Mom? My voice cracked. Mom, I'm awake. Where are you? Please call me back. I tried Dad next. Straight to voicemail. Didn't even ring. Marcus's phone rang and rang until his voicemail picked up. I didn't leave a message. What was the point? I set the phone down, hands trembling. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Families didn't just leave. Not after heart surgery. Not when you were 18 and scared and in pain. Not when they'd looked you in the eye and promised to be there. But the empty chair didn't lie. The silent phone didn't lie. The read receipts didn't lie. They were gone. And for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to be truly alone. The next few hours passed in a haze of pain medication and confusion. Nurses came and went. They checked my vitals, gave me pills, asked if I needed anything. I wanted to say yes. I need my mother. I need my father. I need my brother. I need someone to explain why the people who are supposed to love me most walked away when I needed them most. But all I said was, no, thank you. Dr. Morrison came by around 6. He pulled up the empty chair and sat down with a satisfied smile. Emma, you did wonderfully. The surgery couldn't have gone better. We repaired the valve, and everything looks perfect. Your heart is going to be stronger than it's been in years. That's good, I said, but the words felt hollow. You'll need to stay here for about a week, maybe a little longer. We want to monitor you closely, make sure there are no complications. Then you'll go home and continue recovery there for another few weeks. But honestly, you're doing remarkably well. Home. The word felt strange. Like a place that existed in memory but not in reality anymore. Dr. Morrison? I asked. Yes? When my family left, did they say anything? Did they say why? His smile faded. He looked uncomfortable, shifting in his chair. I'm not really supposed to discuss. Please. I need to know. He sighed. Your mother seemed very relieved when I told her the surgery was successful. They all did. Your father asked about the next steps, the recovery timeline. And then. He paused. And then your father asked about the bill. Of course he did. I explained that the hospital would work with them on a payment plan. That they didn't need to worry about it right away. But he seemed stressed. Your mother too. They talked amongst themselves for a few minutes, and then they told me they needed to go home and take care of some things. They'd be back soon. But they didn't come back. No. They didn't. Dr. Morrison looked genuinely troubled. Emma, I want you to focus on healing right now. Family dynamics can be complicated, especially during stressful times. Sometimes people don't know how to handle their fear, and they react in ways that don't make sense. But that's not your burden to carry. Your only job right now is to rest and recover. He was trying to be kind. I could hear it in his voice. But his kindness couldn't fill the empty chair or make my phone ring. After he left, I lay there watching the sky darken through the window. watching the lights of the city blink on one by one. Watching the world continue to turn like nothing had happened. Like my family hadn't just abandoned me. A different nurse came in for the evening shift. Older, with gray streaks in her hair and a no-nonsense attitude. "I'm Patricia," she said. "I'll be taking care of you tonight. Do you need anything before I start my rounds?" "No." She studied me for a moment. "You sure? You look like you could use something." "I'm fine. Honey, I've been a nurse for 32 years. I know what fine looks like, and you ain't it." Despite everything, I almost smiled. "I'm just tired." "I bet you are. Heart surgery takes it out of you." She checked my chart. "Says here you haven't eaten anything since you woke up. Kitchen's closed now, but I can scrounge up some crackers and juice if you want." "I'm not hungry." "You need to eat. Your body needs fuel to heal." I said I'm not hungry. She gave me a long look, then nodded. "All right. But I'm leaving these crackers here just in case you change your mind." She set a small packet on the bedside table and left. I didn't touch them. That night was the longest of my life. The hospital was never really quiet. There were always sounds. Footsteps in the hallway. Distant voices. Machines beeping. Doors opening and closing. But somehow, it all added up to a kind of loneliness that felt almost physical. I kept checking my phone. Every few minutes, I'd wake from the thin, unsatisfying sleep the pain medication gave me and reach for it, hoping. But there was nothing. By morning, I'd stopped hoping. A new day shift nurse came in around 7. Her name was Kelly, and she was relentlessly cheerful in a way that made me want to scream. "Good morning, Emma. How'd you sleep?" "Fine. Did you eat those crackers Patricia left?" "No." "Well, let's get some breakfast in you." "What sounds good?" "We've got eggs, oatmeal, yogurt." "I'm not hungry." "You really should eat something, sweetie." I said I'm not hungry. She frowned but didn't push. "Okay. Well, let me know if you change your mind." The day passed slowly. Physical therapist came by and made me sit up, then stand for 30 seconds. It exhausted me more than it should have. Dr. Morrison checked in. Said everything looked good. Asked if I had any questions. I didn't. Kelly brought lunch. I didn't eat it. She brought dinner. It sat untouched. "Emma, you need to eat," she said, more firmly this time. "I understand you're going through something emotionally, but your body needs nutrition to heal. If you don't start eating, we'll have to consider other options." "Like what?" "Like a feeding tube." That got my attention. "That's not necessary." "Then eat something. Anything. Even just a few bites." I picked up a piece of bread and forced myself to chew. It tasted like dust. Like nothing. But I swallowed it anyway. There you go. That's a start. But it wasn't a start. It was a surrender. One more way my body was betraying me, demanding things when I had nothing left to give. On the third day, I tried calling again. Same result. Mom's phone rang, then voicemail. Dad's went straight to voicemail. Marcus never answered. I sent text messages. "Please talk to me. Please tell me what I did wrong. Please come back." They were all read. None were answered. On the fourth day, Kelly came in looking uncomfortable. "Emma, I need to talk to you about something." "What?" "It's about your hospital bill. The finance department has been trying to reach your parents about the outstanding balance, and they're not returning calls. Do you have any way to contact them?" I laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. "If I did, do you think I'd be lying here alone? I understand this is difficult. Do you?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. "Do you understand what it's like to wake up from surgery and find out your family left? Do you understand what it's like to be 18 years old and realize the people who were supposed to protect you decided you weren't worth the trouble?" Kelly sat down on the edge of the bed. When she spoke, her voice was softer. "No. I don't understand that. And I'm sorry it's happening to you. But I still need to figure out what to do about the bill. I have about $300 in my savings account. That's it. I'm 18. I don't have insurance on my own. Everything was supposed to go through my parents' insurance. And did it? I don't know. I guess. They filled out all the paperwork before the surgery. She nodded. Okay. Let me talk to billing and see what I can find out. Try not to worry about it right now. Try not to worry. As if I could think about anything else. The days started blurring together. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked my incision, listened to my heart, declared me healing well. Physical therapists made me walk a little farther each day, up and down the hallway with a walker, my body shaking with effort. Other patients had visitors. I'd see them when I did my walks. Rooms full of flowers and balloons. Families gathered around beds, talking and laughing. Love made visible. My room stayed empty. On the 5th day, I broke. Kelly came in to check my vitals and found me crying. Not the quiet tears I'd been fighting back for days. Real, ugly sobbing that made my chest hurt and my stitches pull. She didn't say anything. Just sat down and held my hand while I fell apart. When I finally stopped, when there was nothing left inside me but emptiness, she handed me a tissue. Feel better? She asked. No. That's okay. Sometimes you need to fall apart before you can start putting yourself back together. What if I can't put myself back together? You can. It might not feel like it right now, but you can. You're stronger than you think, Emma. I didn't feel strong. I felt broken. Abandoned. Like something people threw away when it became too expensive to keep. That afternoon, everything changed. I was sitting in the chair by the window, the first time I'd gotten out of bed voluntarily. Kelly had encouraged me to try sitting up for a while, said it would help with circulation. I was staring out at nothing, watching cars come and go in the parking lot below, when someone knocked on my door frame. Emma? I turned. A woman stood there, maybe 60 years old, with silver hair cut short and warm brown eyes. She wore jeans and a soft blue sweater, and she was holding a small potted plant. Yes? I'm sorry to intrude. My name is Ruth. I'm a volunteer here at the hospital. Oh. Okay. She stepped inside hesitantly. I work with the patient support program. We visit people who are here for extended stays, especially those who might not have many visitors. One of the nurses mentioned you might appreciate some company. Kelly. It had to be Kelly. I'm fine, I said automatically. Ruth smiled. You know, everyone always says that. I'm fine. It's the most common lie we tell each other. Despite myself, I almost smiled. Maybe. May I sit? She gestured to the empty chair. I shrugged. Sure. She sat down and placed the plant on the windowsill. It's a succulent. Very hard to kill. I thought you might like something green to look at. Thank you. We sat in silence for a moment. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was just quiet. You don't have to talk if you don't want to, Ruth said. I'm happy to just sit here. Keep you company. Sometimes that's all we need. To know we're not alone. Something about the way she said it, about the kindness in her eyes, made my defenses crack. They left, I heard myself say. My family. After the surgery. They just left. Ruth didn't look shocked or horrified. She just nodded slowly, like she'd heard this story before. That must hurt terribly. It does. Do you know why they left? I shook my head. Money, maybe? The surgery was expensive, and we've never had much. But they could have told me that. They could have explained instead of just disappearing. Yes. They could have. What kind of people do that? What kind of family abandons their daughter when she needs them most? Scared ones, Ruth said quietly. Broken ones. People who don't know how to face their own failures, so they run from them instead. I looked at her. You sound like you know. She smiled sadly. I do. Not this exact situation, but I know what it's like to be left by people who were supposed to stay. What happened? She settled back in her chair. That's a long story. I've got time. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. I was married for 25 years. Had 2 children, a son and a daughter. From the outside, we looked perfect. Nice house. Good jobs. The American dream. She paused. But my husband was gambling. Had been for years, though I didn't know. He hid it well. Until one day, I got a call from the bank. Our savings were gone. Our retirement fund. Everything. He'd lost it all. What did you do? I confronted him. And you know what he did? He left. Just packed a bag and walked out. Couldn't face what he'd done, couldn't face rebuilding, so he ran. Left me to pick up the pieces. That's horrible. It was. But you know what the worst part was? My children took his side. They blamed me for driving him away, for not being more understanding, for making him feel like a failure. They stopped calling. Stopped visiting. I lost my whole family in one afternoon. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm so sorry. Thank you. That was 15 years ago. I've made peace with it now. But I won't lie to you and say it didn't hurt. It hurt more than anything I'd ever experienced. How did you survive it? She looked out the window, thinking. One day at a time. 1 hour at a time sometimes. I found things that gave me purpose. This volunteer work. A book club. Small connections with people who appreciated me for who I was, not who they needed me to be. She turned back to me. And I learned something important. Family isn't just the people you're born to. It's the people who show up. The people who stay. Sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're given. Her words settled over me like a blanket. I don't have anyone to choose, I said. You have yourself. That's a start. She stood up. I should let you rest. But I'll come back tomorrow if that's okay. Maybe bring some cards. Do you play gin rummy? I don't know how. Then I'll teach you. Everyone should know how to play gin rummy. She left, and I was alone again. But somehow, the room felt less empty than before. That night, I ate dinner. Not much, but some. Ruth came back the next day, just like she'd promised. She brought cards and taught me gin rummy. I was terrible at it, but she didn't seem to mind. She came back the day after that too. And the day after that. We didn't always talk about heavy things. Sometimes we just played cards. Sometimes she'd read to me from the mystery novel she was working through. Sometimes we'd sit in comfortable silence, her knitting while I stared out the window. But slowly, something started to shift inside me. The pain in my chest was healing. Dr. Morrison said my heart was responding beautifully to the surgery. But the pain in my soul, the wound my family had left, that was healing too. Slower. More fragile. But healing nonetheless. Because Ruth kept showing up. Kelly noticed the change. You seem better, she said one morning while changing my 4-bag. I feel better. A little. Ruth's good people. She's been volunteering here for 10 years. Lost her whole family, but instead of becoming bitter, she decided to be family for other people who needed it. She told me about her husband. And her kids. Kelly nodded. Broke her heart. But she's one of the strongest people I know. On the 8th day, Dr. Morrison came in with good news. Your recovery has been excellent, Emma. Better than I could have hoped. I think we can discharge you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Home. Except I didn't have a home anymore. Not really. Where will I go? The question came out small. Dr. Morrison looked uncomfortable. I assumed you'd go home with your family. They haven't been here. They're not answering my calls. He frowned. Have you tried going to your house? Maybe if you show up. And if they don't want me there? Silence. Let me talk to social services, he said finally. See what resources are available for someone in your situation. After he left, I called Mom one more time. The phone rang and rang. No answer. No voicemail. Just ringing into an endless void. I sent one final text. I'm being discharged tomorrow. I have nowhere to go. Please. The message was delivered. Then read. No response. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. Ruth found me like that an hour later. What's wrong? She asked, sitting in her usual chair. They're discharging me tomorrow. That's wonderful. It means you're healing well. I don't have anywhere to go. Understanding dawned on her face. Your family still hasn't. No. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up. Stay here. I'll be right back. She left quickly, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I sat there, confused and exhausted, wondering what she was doing. She came back 20 minutes later with Kelly and a woman I'd never seen before. The woman was dressed professionally, carrying a folder. Emma, this is Margaret from Social Services, Ruth said. I explained your situation. She has some options for you. Margaret pulled up a chair. I understand you're being discharged tomorrow and don't have family support. That's right. There are several temporary housing programs for young adults in situations like yours. They're not ideal, but they're safe and clean. You'd have a bed, meals, access to follow-up medical care. Shelters. She was talking about shelters. How long could I stay? Usually 30 to 60 days. That would give you time to figure out next steps. Maybe find a job, save some money, get your own place. A job. With a healing heart. With nowhere to live. With no family to help. Okay, I said. What choice did I have? I'll make the arrangements, Margaret said. We'll have transportation ready for you tomorrow after your discharge. After they left, Ruth sat back down. She took my hand. I'm sorry, Emma. You deserve better than this. Do I? The question came out before I could stop it. Maybe I don't. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe that's why they left. Stop. Ruth's voice was firm. Don't you dare blame yourself for their weakness. You didn't do anything wrong. You got sick. That's not a crime. That's not a failure. That's just life. Then why does it feel like I'm being punished? Because love is supposed to be unconditional, and finding out it's not is one of the hardest truths we ever have to face. She squeezed my hand. But here's what I need you to understand. Their leaving says everything about them and nothing about you. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of care. You are worthy of a family that shows up. Tears streamed down my face. I don't feel worthy. I know. But I'm going to keep telling you until you believe it. That night, my last night in the hospital, I barely slept. I kept thinking about tomorrow. About leaving this room that had become strangely safe. About going to a shelter full of strangers. About starting over with nothing and no one. Around 3 a.m, I got up and walked to the window. The city stretched out below me, all lights and shadows. So many people out there. So many lives happening in the dark. Were any of them alone like me? Were any of them trying to figure out how to keep going when the people they loved most had given up on them? My phone buzzed. For a second, hope flared in my chest. Maybe it was Mom. Maybe she'd changed her mind. Maybe. But it wasn't Mom. It was Marcus. I'm sorry. That was all it said. 3 words. After 8 days of silence, 3 words. My hands shook as I typed back. Where are you? Why did you leave? Why won't anyone tell me what happened? The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, it's complicated. Then explain it to me. I can't. Why not? Because it'll hurt you more. More than being abandoned. More than being left alone after heart surgery. More than finding out my family doesn't want me. No response. Marcus, please. I need to understand. The dots appeared one more time. Mom and Dad are getting divorced. They're broke. The surgery bills pushed them over the edge. They're losing the house. Dad's moving in with his brother. Mom's moving in with her sister. There's no room for you anywhere. They didn't know how to tell you. So they just didn't. I read the message 3 times. 4. 5. Each time, it made less sense and more sense simultaneously. They were breaking apart, so they broke me first. They couldn't handle their own disaster, so they created a bigger one for me. They didn't know how to tell me, so they chose the cruelest possible option, silence. And you? I typed. Where are you going? I'm staying with a friend for now. Couch surfing. I don't have room either, Em. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As if those words could fix anything. So that's it? I'm just supposed to figure it out on my own? I don't know what else to say. I wish things were different. Wishing doesn't help me. I know. Do they ever think about me? Do they ever feel guilty? A long pause. Yeah. They do. Mom cries all the time. Dad doesn't talk about it, but I can tell he's messed up about it. They're just too proud and too scared to face you. And you? I think about you every day. I miss you. But I'm barely keeping my own head above water, Em. I can't save you. I can barely save myself. At least he was honest. That was something. Okay, I typed. Okay? What else is there to say? You all made your choices. Now I have to make mine. M. Goodbye, Marcus. I blocked his number. Then Mom's. Then Dad's. If they wanted to abandon me, fine. But I wasn't going to keep hoping they'd change their minds. I wasn't going to keep checking for messages that would never come. I was done. I went back to bed and finally fell asleep as the sky started turning gray with dawn. When Kelly came in to wake me for breakfast, she found me already up and dressed in the clothes Ruth had brought me. My own clothes were long gone, probably thrown out by the family I used to have. Ready for the big day? Kelly asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Dr. Morrison came by with discharge papers. Instructions for follow-up care. Prescriptions. Warnings about what to watch for. I signed everything. Nodded at everything. Understood nothing. Margaret arrived at 10 with transportation arrangements. A van from the shelter would pick me up at the main entrance in 20 minutes. Ruth appeared just as I was gathering my few belongings. I wanted to say goodbye, she said. Thank you. For everything. For not giving up on me. She hugged me gently, careful of my healing incision. Emma, I want you to have this. She pressed a piece of paper into my hand. Her phone number. If you need anything, call me. Anytime. Day or night. I mean it. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. There's a difference. Kelly wheeled me down to the main entrance in a wheelchair, hospital policy. Ruth walked beside us, carrying my bag. The van was waiting. Plain, white, unmarked. Somehow that made it worse. This is where I leave you, Kelly said. Take care of yourself, Emma. And remember what I said. You're stronger than you think. The driver helped me into the van. I settled into the seat, my new life in a plastic bag on my lap. As we pulled away from the hospital, I looked back one last time. Ruth stood on the curb, watching me go. She raised her hand in a wave. I waved back. And then the hospital disappeared around a corner, and I was heading toward whatever came next. Alone. But somehow, after everything, not completely broken. Because one stranger had shown me more love in 8 days than my family had shown me in 18 years. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start rebuilding from. The shelter was exactly what I expected and somehow worse. Gray walls. Fluorescent lights that buzzed constantly. A smell that was part disinfectant, part desperation. Rows of beds separated by thin curtains that offered the illusion of privacy but blocked nothing. The woman at the front desk barely looked up when I arrived. She handed me a packet of rules, pointed me toward bed 23, and told me dinner was at 6. That was it. Welcome to your new life. I found my bed. It was narrow, with a thin mattress and sheets that had been washed so many times they felt like paper. There was a small locker next to it for personal belongings. I had nothing to put in it. Just the clothes Ruth had given me and a bottle of pain medication. The woman in the bed next to mine was probably 40, with tired eyes and a cough that rattled in her chest. She nodded at me but didn't speak. I didn't speak either. I lay down on the bed, staring at the ceiling, and tried not to think about my bedroom at home. The one with the window that faced the backyard. The one with posters on the walls and books stacked on the nightstand. The one that probably didn't exist anymore. That first night in the shelter, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The sounds were all wrong. People coughing, crying, talking in their sleep. Someone's alarm going off at 4 in the morning. Footsteps in the hallway at all hours. And the loneliness. Even surrounded by people, I'd never felt more alone. The days that followed blurred together. Wake up. Eat breakfast in a cafeteria with fluorescent lights and conversations I wasn't part of. Go to the common room and pretend to read donated magazines. Eat lunch. Avoid eye contact. Eat dinner. Go to bed. Repeat. I went to my follow-up appointment at the hospital. Took the bus alone. Sat in the waiting room alone. Dr. Morrison said my heart was healing beautifully. I should be proud. I felt nothing. On the 10th day, I called Ruth. I'd been staring at her number for over a week, too proud to use it, too scared she'd regret giving it to me. But that morning, sitting in the common room while rain drummed against the windows, I finally gave in. She answered on the second ring. Emma? Hearing her voice made something crack inside my chest. Hi, I managed. Oh, honey. I've been thinking about you every day. How are you? Are you okay? I'm at the shelter. I couldn't finish. Do you need anything? Can I bring you something? I don't need anything. I just wanted to hear your voice. I'm glad you called. Can we meet somewhere? Have you eaten lunch? An hour later, I was sitting across from Ruth in a small diner 3 blocks from the shelter. She'd ordered us both soup and sandwiches. I pushed mine around the plate, not hungry. You've lost weight, she said, concern in her eyes. Hospital food wasn't great. Shelter food is worse. Emma. I'm fine. Really? She gave me that look. The one that said she knew I was lying. Okay, I'm not fine. But what else is there to say? This is my life now. I need to accept it. For now, Ruth said. Not forever. Feels like forever. She reached across the table and took my hand. I know it does. But you're stronger than you think. You're going to get through this. Everyone kept saying that. You're stronger than you think. As if strength was something you could pull out of thin air when you had nothing left. What if I'm not? I asked quietly. What if I'm just broken? What if this is all I'm worth? Stop. Her voice was firm. You are not broken. You are not worthless. You are healing from a trauma that most people can't even imagine. And you're doing it alone. That takes more strength than you realize. I wanted to believe her. But belief felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. We talked for over an hour. She asked about my days at the shelter. I told her the truth. The noise, the loneliness, the feeling of being invisible. She listened without trying to fix it, without offering empty platitudes. When it was time to go, she hugged me tight. Same time next week, she asked. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Same time next week? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Those weekly lunches became my lifeline. Every Tuesday, Ruth would meet me at the diner. We'd eat soup and talk about everything and nothing. She'd bring me small things. A book she thought I'd like. A warm scarf for when the weather turned cold. A journal with blank pages. For your thoughts, she said when she gave me the journal. Sometimes writing helps. I didn't write at first. The pages stayed blank for weeks. But one night, lying in bed while the woman next to me cried softly into her pillow, I pulled out the journal and started writing. Not about my family. Not about the surgery or the abandonment or the anger that lived in my chest like a second heartbeat. I wrote about Ruth. About her kindness. About how a stranger had become more of a mother to me in weeks than my own mother had been in years. And as I wrote, something shifted. Not healing, not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. 6 weeks into my stay at the shelter, I got a job. Nothing glamorous. Cashier at a grocery store, minimum wage, 20 hours a week. But it was something. It was purpose. Ruth was thrilled when I told her. Emma, this is wonderful. This is a start. It's just a cashier job. It's independence. It's the first step. She was right, though I didn't want to admit it. Having somewhere to go every day, having a reason to get up, it helped. Not much, but enough. I started saving every penny I could. The shelter didn't charge rent for the first 60 days, so my paychecks went straight into a new bank account. $5 here, $10 there. It added up slowly, painfully slowly. But it added up. Ruth helped me look for apartments. We'd spend our Tuesday lunches circling ads in the newspaper, calling landlords, getting rejected because I was too young or had no rental history or couldn't afford the deposit. It was discouraging. But Ruth never let me give up. The right place will come, she'd say. We just have to keep looking. 3 months after leaving the hospital, on a Tuesday that started like all the others, everything changed. I was at lunch with Ruth when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but Ruth encouraged me to. Hello? Emma Rose? I didn't recognize the voice. Male, older, formal. Yes? This is James Mitchell. I'm an attorney. I'm calling regarding your family's estate. Estate? I don't understand. Is this a good time to talk? I looked at Ruth. She nodded encouragingly. Yes. I can talk. I've been trying to reach you for several weeks, but the phone number your parents provided was disconnected. I finally got your new number from the hospital's billing department. Okay. I'm sorry to inform you that your grandmother passed away 2 months ago. The words didn't register at first. Grandmother. I'd only met her a handful of times. She lived 3 states away and never really connected with our family. There'd been some kind of falling out years before I was born. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, not knowing what else to say. Your grandmother left a will. And Emma, she left everything to you. The diner went quiet. Or maybe it was just that I couldn't hear anything over the rushing in my ears. What? Your grandmother's estate. Her house, her savings, everything. She left it all to you. With a very specific stipulation that your parents were not to receive anything or have any control over your inheritance. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Why me? She didn't say explicitly in the will. But there was a letter. For you. I have it at my office. Would you be able to come in this week? I looked at Ruth. She was watching me with concern and curiosity. Yes. I can come. He gave me the address. Thursday at 2. When I hung up, Ruth immediately asked, what happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. I told her everything. About the grandmother I barely knew. About the inheritance. About the letter. Ruth's eyes filled with tears. Oh, Emma. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is your way forward. I don't understand why she'd leave everything to me. We weren't close. Maybe that's exactly why. Maybe she knew you'd need it. Thursday couldn't come fast enough. James Mitchell's office was in a tall building downtown. Fancy, with leather chairs and diplomas on the walls. He was exactly what I expected. Silver hair, expensive suit, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Emma, thank you for coming. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair. I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. Thank you. He opened a file on his desk. Your grandmother, Dorothy Rose, passed away peacefully in her sleep on August 15th. She had been in declining health for several years but maintained her independence until the end. He paused. Her estate is valued at approximately $320,000. This includes her house, which is fully paid off, and her savings. All of it goes to you, Emma. With one condition. What condition? That you use it wisely. To build a life. To go to college if you want. To be independent. Her exact words were, give my granddaughter the freedom I never had. Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't stop them. $320,000. A house. Freedom. There's more, James said gently. He pulled out an envelope. This letter was sealed with instructions that only you could open it. I took the envelope with shaking hands. My name was written on it in shaky handwriting. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single page. My dear Emma. We only met a few times, and for that, I am sorry. Your father and I had our differences, and I let pride keep me from knowing you. That was my mistake, and I've regretted it every day. But I kept track of you through the years. Your school pictures your mother would send at Christmas. The updates your father would give in his brief, uncomfortable phone calls. I watched you grow up from a distance, and I saw in you something special. A strength. A kindness. A determination to be better than the circumstances you were born into. When I heard about your heart surgery, I wanted to reach out. But I was a coward. I told myself you had your family to support you. That you didn't need an old woman you barely knew. Then I learned what they did. How they left you. And I realized that you needed someone, anyone, to show you that you matter. That you are worthy of love and support. That you deserve better than what they gave you. So I'm giving you what I can. It's not enough to make up for lost time. It's not enough to erase the pain they caused. But maybe it's enough to give you a start. A foundation. A chance to build the life you deserve. You are stronger than you know, Emma. And you are loved more than you realize. Be brave. Be kind. Be free. With all my love. Grandmother Dorothy. I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. Each time, more tears fell. A grandmother I barely knew had been watching. Had cared. Had given me everything when the people who were supposed to love me most had given me nothing. She sounds like a remarkable woman, James said quietly. She was. I didn't know her, not really. But I knew this letter. And that was enough. The paperwork took weeks. But by the end of November, 5 months after my surgery, I had a house. Not in the city where I'd grown up, but 3 hours away where my grandmother had lived. A small 2-bedroom house with a garden and a porch swing. It was mine. Ruth helped me move. There wasn't much to move. Some clothes. Some books. The journal she'd given me. But we filled the car and made the drive together, talking and laughing and crying. When we pulled up to the house, I just sat there in the car, staring. This is real, I whispered. This is real, Ruth confirmed. We spent the day unpacking. Ruth had brought sheets and towels and groceries. Housewarming gifts, she said. That night, after Ruth left to drive home, I sat alone in my new living room. My house. My space. My life. For the first time in months, I felt something other than pain or fear or anger. I felt peace. The next few months were about rebuilding. I enrolled in community college classes. Started therapy to work through the trauma and abandonment. Made friends slowly, carefully, learning to trust again. Ruth visited every other weekend. She'd stay in the guest room, and we'd cook together and work in the garden and talk for hours. She never tried to replace my mother. She was just Ruth. The woman who showed up when no one else did. The angel in disguise. 1 year after my surgery, I was sitting on my porch swing, watching the sunset, when I heard a car pull up. I didn't recognize it at first. But then I saw who got out. Mom. My heart started racing. Not from the surgery. From fear. From anger. From a year of unprocessed emotions suddenly flooding back. She walked up the path slowly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. Emma. I didn't respond. Couldn't. Can we talk? I should have said no. I should have told her to leave. But I needed answers more than I needed anger. Okay. She sat on the porch steps, not next to me. Keeping distance. Smart. I'm sorry, she started. I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I need to say it anyway. I'm so sorry. Why did you leave? She looked down at her hands. We were scared. Your dad and I, we were falling apart. The medical bills, the stress, everything. We couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle seeing you in pain and not being able to fix it. So we ran. You ran from me. When I needed you most, you ran. I know. Tears streamed down her face. I know, and I hate myself for it. Every day. Every single day I wake up and I hate myself for what we did to you. Then why didn't you come back? Why didn't you call? Why did you let me go through everything alone? Because we were ashamed. Because we thought you'd be better off without us. Because we convinced ourselves that we'd done so much damage that coming back would only hurt you more. You were wrong. I know. We sat in silence. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange and pink. Your father and I divorced, she said finally. The marriage was over long before your surgery, but that broke us completely. He's in Arizona now. I'm still in town, living with my sister. Marcus told me. Via text. After 8 days of silence. She flinched. He feels terrible about that too. Does he? The anger was creeping back. Does everyone feel terrible? Because feeling terrible doesn't help me. It doesn't undo the nights I cried myself to sleep in a shelter. It doesn't erase the fear or the loneliness or the feeling that I wasn't worth staying for. No. It doesn't. She looked at me. Really looked at me. Emma, I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm here because I needed you to know that what we did was about us, not you. You were never the problem. We were. Our weakness, our fear, our inability to be the parents you deserved. Then why did you come? What do you want? I wanted to see you. To know you're okay. And... She hesitated. And to tell you I'm proud of you. For surviving. For building this life. For being stronger than I ever was. The words should have felt good. Should have filled some void. But they just felt hollow. You don't get to be proud of me, I said quietly. You weren't there. You don't get to claim any part of who I've become. She nodded. You're right. I don't. She stood up to leave. Wait, I said. She turned back. I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be. But I need you to know something. I took a breath. I survived. Not because of you, but despite you. And I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. I'm going to build a life full of people who show up. Who stay. Who choose me every day. You deserve that, Emma. You deserve everything good. I know. It took me a long time to believe it, but I know. She got in her car and drove away. I sat on the porch swing, watching her taillights disappear, and felt something release in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe never. But acceptance. Acceptance that they were who they were, and I was who I was, and those two things didn't have to fit together anymore. That night, I called Ruth. My mom came by, I told her. And? How are you feeling? Honestly? Free. Free? Free from needing her to fix what she broke. Free from waiting for them to become the family I deserved. Free to choose my own family. Oh, Emma. Ruth's voice was thick with emotion. That's the bravest thing you've said yet. I learned it from you. Me? You showed me what real love looks like. Not the kind that runs when things get hard. The kind that shows up. That stays. That chooses you every single day, even when it's not easy. Ruth was crying now. I could hear it. You've become my family too, Emma. You know that, right? I know. And you're mine. We talked for another hour, about everything and nothing, the way we always did. After we hung up, I sat in my living room and pulled out the journal Ruth had given me all those months ago. The pages were full now. Full of pain and healing and growth and gratitude. I turned to a blank page and wrote. A year ago, I woke up in a hospital room alone, and I thought my life was over. I thought being abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me most meant I was unlovable. Worthless. Broken. But I was wrong. Because along the way, I found something more valuable than their conditional love. I found Ruth. I found myself. I found the strength I didn't know I had. And I found out that family isn't just the people you're born to. It's the people who choose you. Who show up. Who stay. My heart is stronger now. Not just the physical heart that Dr. Morrison repaired. But the emotional one too. The one that broke when they left. The one that Ruth helped me put back together. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive my parents for what they did. I don't know if the scars they left will ever completely fade. But I know this, I'm going to be okay. More than okay. I'm going to thrive. Because sometimes the people who save you aren't the ones you expect. Sometimes they're strangers who become family. Sometimes they're angels in disguise. And sometimes the greatest gift you can receive is the freedom to build your own life, on your own terms, surrounded by people who choose to love you every single day. That's what I'm going to do. And if you're reading this, if you're going through something similar, if you've been left behind by people who were supposed to stay, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are strong. You are valuable. You are deserving of love that stays. And you will survive this. You will build something beautiful from the ashes. I promise. What would you do if the people you loved most walked away? How would you rebuild? Tell me your story. Share your strength. Because we're all just trying to survive. And sometimes, knowing someone else made it through gives us the courage to keep going. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep choosing yourself. You're worth it. I promise. I closed the journal and looked around my living room. My house. My life. My choice. The story didn't end the way I thought it would. It ended better. Because I learned that the family you choose is sometimes stronger than the family you're given. And that sometimes, the people who save you are the ones who had nothing to gain and everything to give. Ruth showed me what unconditional love looks like. And in doing so, she saved my life in ways that had nothing to do with hospital bills or surgery. She gave me hope. She gave me family. She gave me a future. And that made her more than just an angel in disguise. She made her my mother in all the ways that mattered. This is my story. A story of abandonment and survival. Of heartbreak and healing. Of losing everything and finding something better. What's yours? Tell me and I will be on the comments section. And if you've enjoyed this journey of heart, both literal and metaphorical, please subscribe, activate notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below.